Shift with Mike and Joe.
Joe, are we rolling?
Yes,
Okay,
we
good.
are rolling. This is episode number 23. We got Jeremy Furrow here. Thanks for coming, Jeremy.
Of course.
Jeremy's the coach of my son's baseball team. And yeah, the sponsor. What else? The sponsor of this show is Image and Sound Media, brought to you by Image and Sound Media. More on them later.
One of them later.
That's me, Image and Sound Media. Did I forget anything else, Mike?
Hey, Joe.
Hey, Mike.
You remember the other day after Joey's baseball game, we went to McDonald's and I ate that kid's meal?
Yeah.
His mom was so pissed off about that.
Because it was his meal. That was funny. All right. Yeah, Jeremy, thanks for coming, man.
Yep, of course.
You got a lot going on. One of the big things is Made Baseball.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, man, please tell us about that. And I'm also interested in hearing about the other stuff that you've got, Reppin Maryland, and what was the other one called?
Play hard or go home.
Play hard or go home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. So tell us all about all that stuff, please.
All that stuff. All right, ready to go.
Whatever comes to your mind, whatever comes out.
Yeah. So, basically, I guess the easiest way to explain it is I've kind of always been, if I see something being done that I can improve on, then I just go for it. So that's kind of how Made started. I have obviously a background in entrepreneurship outside of that. But going to tournaments and things and seeing how, the different tournaments are run and the money that gets collected from that for unnecessary things and, the experience wasn't always great. Some are amazing, but for the most part, I just felt like I could do it better. So that's when I decided just to make Made Baseball. And the idea started as I wanted a place for kids on the Eastern Shore in Delaware to be able to play in a league, so that they could play league games and not have to spend money on tournaments every weekend or travel super, super far. If you can't beat the competition level that's next door, why would you go to another state? That's kind of the idea behind it.
Right.
So it grew from that. And I said, you know what, I'll do tournaments too, because people want tournaments and I can do them well. So I did that. And then I teamed up with USSSA. They saw what I was doing in building the league and the tournaments and stuff. And somebody from their national office reached out and said,
wow,
would you like to be a part of USSSA? And I said, nope, I'm good. And then they were like, all right, but that's cool, but we can help you grow and we can do this and we can do that. So then I really looked into it over the course of a couple weeks, and I was like, you know what? That's kind of exactly what this area is missing, is the structure that comes with a national governing organization. So if you don't know, I'm assuming you probably don't know.
I don't know what USSSA is.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you.
Also, let me just chime in real quick for the people who probably don't know. Like, we're talking about club travel baseball, not like, rec baseball with your local parks and rec.
Right, correct. Yeah, so there in Maryland, there has been no sanctioning body for youth travel baseball in quite a long time. So essentially what you would get is, there's different levels of play in everything. And there's different levels of teams, different levels of competition. So what would happen frequently is teams that are really high level, ultra competitive teams would end up playing teams that are not at that level. And it's not a good experience for either. So the ultra competitive teams, they blow out the teams that are not as competitive, and that's okay. But it's not a good experience for either. So the real big draw for me in joining USSSA, which is, they sanction everything from bats to baseballs and everything, is that they create classes within each age group. So as an example, like our team that I coach, Joey's son, that's a AA class team. And you go up to AAA, and you go up to majors. So within USSSA, there's really no point in the AA team competing against a majors team. We kind of already know what's going to happen.
How do they figure out the quality of your team?
So it's on the coaches to start, and then all that data that goes in from games that are played in leagues and tournaments and things like that, your team can level up or level down in the classifications. So it's kind of a third party person that oversees everything, person being the USSSA organization, and then me reporting it to them. So then they collect that data and use the data that goes in to reclassify teams.
Okay.
And is that all through Game Changer data?
No,
How that comes
yeah. So Game Changer is how you score the game, but so you can use Game Changer, but then I take all the information and put it into the USSSA system.
Oh, okay.
So like all of the scores, the run differentials, if your team scores 20 runs and allows 0, then, in that case, you're a higher level competition than the team that you just competed. So it's really easy to figure out as time goes on. And then it tracks players too, so that, if a player from a majors level team goes to another AAA level team, that may take that AAA team up to the majors level.
Okay.
And how does Bombs for Moms fit into that?
Bombs for moms.
Just
You
curious.
just Googled.
No, I was looking at your website earlier, and I'm like, okay, what the heck's Bombs for Moms?
Yeah, so I don't know. So that's kind of the cool creative part of it is I like to come up with cool names for different events. So Bombs for Moms was just a tournament that we held, and it was on Mother's Day weekend. And I was like, well, it goes with moms. I was thinking in baseball, and I'm like, you know what? Kids hitting bombs. That's
okay,
that's it.
that's
So
okay.
Bombs for Moms. Come hit
You gotta have
home
the
runs for your moms,
Okay.
And then we had the sequel to that was Dingers for Dads.
Okay.
So yeah, so then I have someone that I've worked with through USSSA, and they create the logos and all of that stuff, and it's pretty cool.
Cool.
That is awesome. I think you told me that, but I didn't fully comprehend that the logos were being come up with by USSSA.
Yeah, so I come up with the names, I submit it to them. Building Brackets is the name of the company that USSSA uses and I use. They're fantastic. I send it to my contact, Karis. She does her magic with whatever designers they have, and they send it back to me for approval, just like any other kind of artwork or digital designs.
Okay.
That's awesome. Is that an added cost, or is that part of the...
So not for my tournaments, no. I did have them create some brand-specific logos and things like this one that I'm wearing, the
Right.
Reppin Maryland, and then the other one, the Play Hard or Go Home. I have some other ones, One Team, One Dream. That'll be a collection coming out. But so I have some themes like that I had them create. Once I saw how good they were at creating logos for tournaments and stuff, I was like, that's a no-brainer. So I do pay for those, and then they'll come up with a logo, and then all the other design work comes on the back end.
Gotcha.
So what's involved in putting on I guess I'm thinking of a tournament specifically, but like really, yeah, let's go with a tournament. Like, so you collect money from, how do you decide like how much to spend, how much to charge? How do you and how do you distribute the funds and find people that want to do it and all that stuff?
Yeah. So I guess the easiest way to answer that is I have a background in marketing through some other entrepreneurial things that I've done in the past. So I use that for marketing for my tournaments and things like that. Kind of one led into the other. But as far as determining how much money to charge and all of that stuff, I kind of look at it like basically I'm a big party planner. So that's the easiest way to look at it is you're planning a giant event where you could have anywhere from 500 to 1,500 people coming, and you have to make sure that, everything goes smoothly. Otherwise, you have 1,500 people that are pissed off at you. And that's a tremendous workload when that comes in, because everything has to get down to the very granular level. So, if someone goes to an event and there's no bathroom,
Yeah.
and they're at the field for 4 hours, or the bathroom's disgusting, you're going to hear about it. So, in travel baseball and coaching and things like that, I've seen all of these different things at different events, and I use that feedback that I've gotten from family members that have gone to those events and our team, what our team experienced. And it's like, okay, well, I just have to do it better than that. And that's the bar that I set, is that it's going to be better than any other event around.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's like I read on your website something about like, you integrate, I might be saying this differently, but like you integrate feedback, from the community or something to that effect. Is that kind of what you're referencing? Or
Yeah.
like, and then do you get feedback when you put on a tournament? I'm assuming you get feedback from the tournament you put on, and like,
Yep.
Did you ever forget anything big before?
Yeah. So, speaking of bathrooms, so, the very first USSSA event I put on, I think it was 40 teams or something like that, 45 teams. It's a fairly substantial tournament. And I was running left to right, just trying to do everything. And a porta potty was overlooked. And it was like, they should have came and cleaned that before the event. They didn't. So then that's overflowing at the event. It's like, you know what, that's terrible. We can never let that happen again.
Yeah.
So you just kind of build from there. It's like, okay, you know what, that's on my checklist now.
Yeah.
That all the bathrooms have to get taken care of before the event.
Do you have to provide all the gear, like the bats and balls? And I'm assuming the gloves, the kids bring their own gloves or whatever.
Yeah, so within travel baseball, those teams show up. I mean, it's organized. You would think it's the military for some of these travel teams that show up. It's insane.
Yeah.
Like even my kids, and I don't run it that way, our team, but you'll see, I mean, it's pretty incredible to watch the structure that goes into it for kids. So like our team, they all show up an hour before the game. They all have their spot that they're supposed to be. The game ahead of us ends. Our team goes in. They hang their bags in a certain way in the back of the dugout. Everybody gets their gloves, goes to right field, starts warming up, and you would think it's like the military, like it's that structured every
With
single
11-year-olds.
time. With 11-year-olds, and it's good for them. It's every single time they take the field, they warm up the same way. Then they come in. We go through our pregame talk, what we're focusing on, all of that stuff. It's pretty crazy. So they have all of their own stuff. As a tournament director, I did have events where I would provide baseballs. That's really the big thing, and umpires. So you have to figure out prior to the event. There's a lot of networking that goes in. So I have 7 or 8 different umpire associations that I work with, and if you have a problem with certain umpires, then they don't come back, and the umpire association has to know that. So that's kind of part of having these high quality events. That's one of the things that can go terribly wrong is a bad umpire.
Yeah.
And there's not enough of them, and we have to give them a little bit of grace because no one wants to do that job anymore. But there's a certain level for travel baseball tournaments that they have to provide that level of service.
Yeah.
So we provide umpires. And as far as the fees go, I do it a little bit different. So I try and be as transparent with everything as I can, because I think that people really relate to that and they support businesses that are transparent with them. Especially, I'm that way. So if I see that a business is transparent in everything that they're doing, then I'm more likely to support that business. So I do things a little bit differently. So you'll see some tournaments I would say the average tournament is probably $800
For the team to enter?
for a team to enter. And they could play 3 games to 5 or 6 games. But you'll see other tournaments that are $1,200, $1,300 around here. So it kind of goes different prices. So my tournaments, I do $350, and teams pay for their umpires at the plate. So the difference in that and why it's transparent is because you see where your money is going.
You're not marking up
to your umpires. Yeah, I'm not marking up anything. You have to pay for umpires if you want to play a baseball game, period. You can't play without them. So when teams come and they say, okay, well, here's $75 per game per umpire, then they know they've paid something, not sticking $75 in Jeremy's pocket, So the $350 covers renting the fields, making sure the bathrooms are good, the marketing that goes into it, the scheduling system through USSSA, all that stuff gets covered under the $350. There's no additional expenses. There's no gate fees, which a lot of different tournaments do where it's like you guys come to see my son play and you drive in separate cars. Well, that's $15 per car that a tournament director will charge you to enter into the facility. Mm-hmm. It's like, I don't want to do that. That's crazy. I don't want to be charged that. Why would I charge someone else that?
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I run the business.
I could see if you had like limited seating and it was being overwhelmed all the time or something, but like, you know what I mean? Like if you just like, we have nowhere to put all these people, we need to like discourage people from coming. I could see it then, but like just to charge it seems kind of.
But discouraging people from coming to see their kid play, that's,
yeah.
you know, I just
Nobody
kind of
wants to
see
pay
it
for
that way.
parking, like for
No
anything.
one does. No one does.
Yeah.
Then it's if you follow any of the travel baseball groups or anything like that, there's always memes of like tournament directors, you know, as a troll running around with big sacks of money on their back, you know, and then it's like, you know, collect the money from gate fees, and it just pisses people off.
Right.
COVID fee.
It's like, yeah, I don't want to piss anybody off. I want them to come and have a good time. That's
At the same time, though, like I mean, it's a lot of work, right? I mean,
it is a ton of work.
So you have to compensate yourself, and you know you want to stay afloat and keep it going. So, you know, not to like exploit your finances, but I'm sure you're still like you're coming out on top, right?
Yeah, you can make money, what I would say is a reasonable amount of money for putting on an event for the amount of time that goes in. Mm-hmm. I think when you inflate costs and, you know, cut corners and things like that, it really shows up in the event. And that's why tournament directors get a bad name, because it's like, well, I come and have a terrible experience, yet he's making out with all this money.
Right. Yeah. You don't want it to feel like a cash grab. It's
No,
like you want it to feel like a quality experience.
Exactly.
How much time do you think you put in? Like, how much time does it take planning and executing like one tournament?
So one tournament, I would say probably 40 to 80 hours worth of work.
Yeah.
Leading up to it and after the event, and during the event.
Yeah.
How far in advance do you, like if you're going to do a tournament, how much lead time do you need to like get the advertising and all that stuff out there?
So I have, my events are already listed for the 2026 season.
Okay.
So all of spring and up to the summer is already out there, and I've already started working on the marketing for it.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, last year when you started it, you had all the tournaments on the schedule. I think it was a couple of months, 2 or 3 months ahead, which even then I was like, oh, wow, they're all scheduled on the calendar. I referenced Game Changer earlier. It's like an app that we use that has, you can watch the game through Game Changer, which is really cool.
Yeah, it's very cool.
But it keeps score. That's like where they put in, you know, strike one, strike two, that was a ball, that was an error. And if you pay for it, you can get like specific stats on like your kid, and it'll even give you, it'll give you clips of your kids' plays.
Wow.
Which is pretty wild. I mean, it's not like the one thing that I, you know, as a videographer,
It's not Joe's videography.
yeah, dude,
It's
it would
streaming
be
from a backstop.
so
I was
cool
wondering about that.
if there was a way to, I'm sure there is, like a not super complicated way to increase the image quality, you know, of the cameras that like have multiple cameras. That would be
You can actually do that. Yeah, I've seen lots of teams at tournaments do that.
You had mentioned something to me, I think, about that. They have like, what's the company called? The brand called?
There's Sideline HD is one of them.
Okay.
But you can have different cameras set up. So I've seen one guy, he sits behind the backstop. He has a table set up with his laptop. He has like remote servers set up so that the cameras can communicate. It's wild.
Yeah.
And he'll have a switch where you can switch from one camera to the other as the play goes.
Right.
It's like commercial quality.
Yeah.
Streaming. It's cool.
That reminds me of like there's a similar kind of thing with video podcasting with a switcher where you have a separate person. So you don't have to do the editing in post. It's like there's somebody sitting over there and Jeremy's talking and they, you know, switch the camera to the feed to Jeremy's camera and then Mike says something. It would be cool maybe down the line, but something like that would like, I would definitely pay for Game Changer if that image quality was like that, you know. I mean, that's super cool to be able to have clips of your own kid after every game.
Well, you have to be able to have someone that is capable of producing that. Like, I'm not the tech guy that's going to go
Well,
out there and
you
set
got to
up
have a
videos.
dedicated person.
Yeah, we got to have a Joe. Everybody needs a Joe on their team.
Yeah. Now, are there like because it's sort of third party sanctioned? Is that how you avoid like you're putting the tournament on, but your team's playing in it, and like I'm not trying to accuse you of
No, it's a
anything
great
or anything,
question.
but like
It is a
I
great
could see where
question,
people
actually.
would be like, oh, your team won because you told the umpire to,
Yeah.
whatever. Like,
Yeah, I think part of it is, again, that transparency within the business. Like, I don't hide anything from anyone. And your reputation is everything. So, people know that, for better or worse, they know where I stand on just about everything. Because if you ask me, I'm going to tell you. And they know that I would never do something like that. The other part to that is when my team participates in tournaments, like I have 5 other coaches on our team. So they go out and they coach the kids and I run the tournament. I have no influence or anything with the team. Like I may walk over and watch some of the game, or, might tell a coach before the game starts, like, hey, I think this is the pitcher that you should start, and then maybe look at this pitcher afterwards. Something like that. But during the game, I'm still event director. I don't get involved in any of the stuff that goes on with the team.
so the umpires might not even know it's your team playing.
Most don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, most have no idea who my team is.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll see, like, when we're playing, you might see Jeremy, like, sitting in the stands, or maybe you're across the park at a different field or something. Yeah, I've definitely noticed that. Like, the other coaches are coaching the game when we're playing, which is different than, like, a league game or something where Jeremy's acting as the head coach.
Okay.
And it's funny, too. So the teams that do know who my team are, so like other 12U teams from around this area know that I coach the 12U Black Sox Blue team. That's my team. And they'll tell me in between games, they're like, dude, go coach your team. Like, we don't care.
Oh, okay.
And it's like, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, no, thank you.
I got a porta potty to do.
Yeah,
I got a porta potty issue.
but you wouldn't want, like, somebody, driving by from Virginia or something and see, oh wait, he's coaching his own, like, so the like you said, the reputation and people who aren't familiar, people who aren't from this area might take it the wrong way.
Yeah.
I think.
So what are some things that, like, somebody like me might not think of, like, that go into a tournament? Like, do you have to have a doctor there? Do you, like, just stuff like that, like things that you have to make sure are implemented that maybe aren't obvious?
Yeah, so depending on the size of the event, we have to communicate with the first responder, everybody in the first responder community. Like, the fire department has to know, ambulance has to know, public works has to know, all of that stuff. So that goes into the permitting side of everything. So you can't get permitted fields for an event over 300 people, which most are, without notifying all of them.
300 being the crowd and everything, or just
Everything altogether.
players? Okay.
And you figure, if there's 12 kids on a team and you have, at the very least 8 teams in an age group in a tournament, you're well over 300 there, just with the coaches, the kids, the siblings, and the other family that comes and watches.
Yeah.
So every event, pretty much, you have to talk to, or at least notify the, the first responding people that would be there for that. Outside of that, we always have first aid available at the events. I always put up a canopy, and my wife will be there with first aid stuff. And within the community, it's pretty cool. So it's, we've had kids get injured at tournaments before. I had one kid broke his orbital in 3 places. Super tough, awesome kid. But there was doctors at the field, and they just jump right in there. Like, we have a nurse on our team. So if a kid gets hurt, we have a nurse there to take care of it.
That's right, we do.
Yeah.
So you need, like, I'm just thinking other things, that you need, like, somebody to run parking. Do you have you have to have like a entry person that takes, or that, like, signs you in and all?
It's,
like,
it's
a lot of
so it's so well coordinated at these events. You would be surprised. You don't really need anybody for parking.
Okay.
People come in, they park, and it goes a lot with the planning of it. So when you come to one of the events, I send out to every parent through the USSSA system. I'll send out to every parent, coach, everybody, the field map. So they'll have a field map, 2 weeks before the tournament is there. So they know which field they're going to.
Okay.
they know where the parking is. The only team that doesn't get that a lot of the times is my own team, because I just forget about us.
I was going to say that they also have to check their email too.
Yeah.
I know that that's happened to me. I get to the tournament, like, where the hell are we playing? I don't know. Oh, it's in my email.
Yeah. So it's so coordinated that most of the time I don't have any issues. So people know where they're going, and that's when, they show up to the field and then they're there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like, how many people do you have on staff, like helping during the day of? Is it just you running around doing it all, or
Yeah. So historically, this past season, it was me. My Delaware events, I have Travis Dill from Dill's D1 Development. He helped me with Delaware events. And then my family is there helping as well. So I have my wife, and then I have 4 kids. One plays baseball. The other 3 that don't play baseball, you'll see them at the tent and they'll be running around. My son that does play, you'll see him with a rake. He'll go out there and just in between games or whatever, he'll go out there and just start raking the mound. Just, cool. It's cool to help your family learn the value of work ethic, especially for kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, my daughter, my youngest child is my daughter, and then the next son up, Michael, they love sitting at the tent and interacting with the kids, and we sell stuff, and they interact with the kids, and they handle money comes in, give change. They do the whole thing. So it's pretty cool. And my wife is there making shirts and things like that. It's definitely family run. The 2026, as we're growing, I have full field crews that'll be there to do everything for all the spring events. So I won't have to worry about that anymore.
Field crews meaning like to clean up the fields, or what?
Everything. So in between games, the fields get re-dragged to, smooth them out, relined. The batter's box get relined with all the chalk. The mounds, if it's a dirt mound, they get straightened out, they get raked out. Trash gets picked up, hauled away. Everything is taken care of through the venue. So like, I have 3 spring events in Queen Anne's County. Queen Anne's County Parks and Rec, that's who I rent the fields from, and they take care of all that stuff.
Okay.
Through the deal that I've worked out with them. So it's kind of cool. It's, when you think about the impact that it has, Parks and Rec, they're fantastic. They're amazing people. They do a great job with the fields. They have the opportunity to rent the fields and make money from that, but also bringing, a couple thousand people into their parks. It's great business for them, great publicity for them to show, how cool of a place we live and, have access to. And then it goes outside of that. So you have teams, I have teams come from Virginia, Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, Delaware, all over the place. They'll come for these events. Well, they're not driving back and forth every day. So you have the hotels that are impacted. You have the restaurants, when a team of 12 kids plus 30 parents go out to a restaurant, that restaurant is doing pretty well that night. Mm-hmm. So it's a huge impact outside of just the game for a community, which is kind of a cool aspect to the whole thing.
That's interesting. I never would have thought about that.
Mm-hmm. And I've gotten some work from it too. You know, from just doing pictures, action shots for teams. Like I had a team from Virginia that hired me to get, action shots for the whole team, which was pretty cool. I really need to push that a little bit more next year. I just kind of, I guess you started it too, and I did too, but Jeremy even put like on the event registration page right next to like register for the tournament, there's a on-site photography button like right next to it, which is cool. You know what I mean? Like if you're signing up for a tournament, you're like, oh, I can get a professional photographer to come out and take pictures of my whole team.
Yeah.
Which, is pretty cool. And I think the people that, the clients that I got, were all really happy with it. I just need to like push it more, you know what I mean? Make sure that it's more widely known, but that'll come with time.
So what's the food situation? You get some food trucks in there? Or what?
I do different stuff. Yeah. So
Mike's line of questioning is going to eventually get to, do you need musical entertainment at your
that would be
tournament?
amazing. Hey, if we could work that out.
Yeah, you're right. Do you need a vending machine?
Oh, and vending machines.
Yeah. So different different tournament businesses do things different ways. For the most part, I try to use the food as a way of giving back to the local communities around. So there's this big stigma of there's rec, there's travel, the two can't coexist. And I think that's crazy because some kids play at a rec level, some kids want to be traveling around and playing at super high competitive level, and that's okay. There's that's no problem. So what I do for the rec community is, if we have an event on Kent Island or Queen Anne or wherever that venue is, we'll just use Kent Island for an example. They have concessions there. I don't take any percentage or part of that or anything, and they can make a couple $1,000s just from an event that goes directly back into their rec program, their little league. So that's cool. When there's not concessions there, I do have food truck vendors that I work with, and I'll bring food trucks in. And, again, going back to the community impact, that may not be work that they have otherwise. So it's kind of cool that they come in and, they'll have different stuff. I have one that does like, you would think it's like a carnival. So they have all of the carnival desserts like funnel cakes and fried Oreos and all of that stuff. And then they have, and then they have the, like the fried sausage and chicken tenders. They have all of that stuff.
That one truck does a mean Polish sausage.
Yeah.
Onions and
that's
peppers.
what I'm talking about.
Ooh,
Yeah.
man, that's good.
And then I had down in Charles County in southern Maryland, I had one, and she had all kinds of different stuff. And it was just, it's great.
Yeah.
And so the shirts you're selling, is that like the made shirt, like the league? Is that what, or the not league, but what do you call it? What do you call made?
It's Made Baseball
Organization
is kind of its own thing. It's a LLC. It's a business. So I have kind of multiple sides to it. So there's the league side of it, there's the tournament side of it, and now I'm expanding into the apparel side of it.
So are you selling shirts like for that specific tournament, like
That's how it
such
started.
and such date, and here's the teams that played or something like that?
And it's pretty common. Kids, family members, they want shirts from the tournaments they go to, kind of like a souvenir. Like you go to Disney World, you're going to buy a Disney shirt. It's kind of the same thing. By no means am I Disney, but it's kind of the same thing. Like when you travel around, you want something from wherever you go. So I sell shirts at the events that'll have the tournament logo on it. Starting in 2026, it'll have all of the team names on the back of it, kind of like a keepsake type of deal. So that's what I have done. Now I'm moving into like branded apparel. So I found manufacturing and all of that stuff, so that these cool logos and collections, we'll call it, that I have, like this one with the Reppin Maryland, it's kind of cool. You can go and buy that online.
Okay.
Different stuff, kind of baseball themed. And then outside of just the branded apparel, I have jersey designs. So like we just did for our baseball team, have totally custom jerseys. One is like a pink to blue gradient jersey, and the other one is black to camo. Pretty cool custom jerseys too.
Yeah, that's cool. There was a company over here that was doing that, and I think they might still exist. I'm not going to say the name of them, but every time I go on Facebook, someone would be like, "We ordered jerseys from these people, and it's been 6 years." And
I know who you. We know who you're.
I know
talking
exactly
about.
who you're talking
It was
about.
like, what are they doing with this? Like,
Oh, it's been you've ordered it and you haven't gotten it yet. Yeah, we know who you're talking about.
yeah.
I won't say the name of the company either, but I will tell you that specific company, when we started this conversation, I said if I can do it better,
That's what I was
kind of the
thinking.
motivation.
Was that a motivation for
That's
you?
one of the companies
bar
that
pretty
motivated
low.
me.
Because
though.
there's not too many people that do that around here, and the one that I know of was doing a terrible job. Or I mean, I never interacted with them or anything, but from what I was reading, it was like, what are these people doing? Like, how have they existed this long?
Yeah.
Because
And then the sad part to that is, looking at both sides of the coin, and I'm a realistic person, that specific company has amazing designs. But that's not enough to sustain
No.
your company.
Yeah.
You have to have great customer service.
yeah,
You got to deliver.
You have to.
Yeah. So I could go down a rabbit hole with that. Let's try to steer away from it.
Joe, I'm not done.
Everything. Well, you.
I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
So everything we've talked about so far is under Made, right? So Made encompasses the tournaments, and it's now a league, right? So we can come back to that some more. I'm sure we will. But what is Reppin Maryland?
So I was kind of trying to think of a different spin for things and like a cool design that would relate to kids. And I put some test products out there at events. And basically, this was just a concept that I had came up with, and I gave it to the designers, and I said, I want something that's Maryland specifically branded. And to me, the blue crab is, that's pretty Maryland. Outside of the terrapin turtle, the blue crab is pretty much it. So I was thinking of a cool way to incorporate text into that, and it's like, from Maryland, no, that sucks. That doesn't sound good. I live in Maryland, no, you can't do that either. That sucks. So it's like, what cool word can you use? So it's like, you know what? Wherever we go, we're repping Maryland.
Right.
So that's kind of the idea behind that collection of apparel that I started.
Okay, so it's a apparel brand, I guess.
Yeah. So Made is the name Made comes from Maryland and Delaware.
Right.
So MA for Maryland, DE for Delaware. I know Maryland is MD, but you can't do MDD. That doesn't work as a company name.
MDE.
Yes. So I made the company name Made, and it's such a cool word with cool branding behind it and from what I've seen at these events, people love the shirts, they love the designs. And I'm like, you know what? I have kind of this community around what it is that I'm building and a lot of support. Why not provide something else that kids might like? And that's kind of the direction that it's going.
And the other one, that's Reppin Maryland. The other one was, I forgot already.
Play hard or go home.
So is that kind of a similar idea? Just like they're kind of like subsets of Made, I guess?
Yeah, so I have a ton of designs, and I'll put them up at events and stuff, and then kind of like testing out an idea. So when you have 20 people that say, I want that Reppin Maryland shirt, it's like, okay, that's a cool design. People like that. People can relate to that. So that was why this was the first one that I put into production. And then the Reppin Maryland, the Play Hard or Go Home, that concept of just, again, travel baseball is supposed to be a very competitive environment. And that is more of like a mindset. You're either going to come here, you're going to play as hard as you can, or you're going to go home.
Right.
And people related to that as well. People were buying that shirt as well. So it's like, you know what? That's the next collection.
Makes sense. I've got another line of questioning. Do you have...
Line of questioning.
Now
We're going into my police
Where
background.
were you on
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean,
for it.
I kind of wanted to ask some more questions that were like general business related, I guess, because it sounds like, okay, what a lot of business people say, there's a hole in the market. I'm going to try to fill that hole in the market, or I'm going to try to do something better than what's already available. And that's pretty obvious. That's like where Made came from, like where your mind was when you created that. And then, with the other two companies, I don't know. It's like, how can I expand with this? And is that kind of how you came up with that? Like, I can totally see how, I've got tournaments where I've got all these kids. Kids love gear. They definitely love gear. Was that kind of like your train of thought with like branching out, and do you have other ideas to continue to expand?
Yeah, so that's exactly what it was. Is I started with the tournaments and the league, and that's been super well received. And I'm always improving on everything that I'm doing. But seeing kids wanting custom gear and the necklaces, and the kids call it the drip. That's what they want.
Drip.
and Joey's a big drip.
Oh yeah, man.
And
He loves his
He's gonna
drip.
wear
He
those
loves it.
broken AirPods.
So so it's kind of like geared towards that. Is I have this community, this customer base already existing.
Right, right.
Why not build something else that this same customer base would be interested in? Mm-hmm. And the very next thing that made the most sense to me was the apparel. I'm already starting doing apparel. I might as well expand into custom apparel and making it more of an apparel brand in addition to a branding of baseball tournaments.
Yeah.
So my background in other ventures that I've had have been all about branding and marketing. So that's what made me successful in those. So it's basically just applying those same principles and thought pattern to, what I'm doing now with baseball.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So I know a little bit about your police background, not a lot. I'd love to chat more about that too. But and then you've told me about a couple other businesses. I think you mentioned you had a landscaping business, but I don't think I knew anything about your marketing background. So what did that look like?
So I've been doing police work for 22 years now. Outside of police work, I've had a few businesses. So the very first business that I started was called Security and Survival Solutions. And the idea behind that business was from the background in police work. We went to this hospital as a police officer. The police department that I work for provided this training at a hospital. And it was all these nurses, first responder type of people in there, like nurses, doctors, all the people that would normally work in a hospital. And the idea was we're going to go and provide this training about active shooter situations and, the craziest things that happen in this world. Let's help people get prepared for that. And so I was an actor for this one particular training that we did in the hospital. And, I had the real looking gun with the blanks and, we set up this whole thing and, obviously everybody knows what's going on and the whole section of the hospital we were in is closed down. So it's all a safe environment. And the idea was we're going to have nurses in there. We're going to have patients in there. Everything is set up like a normal day at the hospital. And then this crazy guy, me, which I have no problems playing the crazy guy, is going to come in and he's pissed off about the treatment that his father had. And it's going to start this whole big, sequence of events. And it's going to help the nurses because it's going to go from an irate guy over the treatment of his father to now he pulls out a gun. Now it's going further and it turns into an active shooter, like just a complete shit show.
And this is all like a training.
Yes.
Yeah,
session.
that is interesting because like there's that I forget what it's called, but it's like when you don't it's like disbelief, right? So like you're in a normal situation and suddenly it turns into not a normal situation and you don't react
surreal.
because it's like this can't be happening versus like I mean, I guess it'd be the same thing in a sense, like if a guy just came in with a gun, but like probably a more realistic situation is that sort of progression into
So we did that, and it was wild because these nurses have seen the worst of the worst when it comes to people coming in with injuries and things like that, and they've dealt with chaotic situations. But when I came in and I amped it up to screaming and yelling, and I probably could find video somewhere. It was pretty crazy. Like I was over the top, like a mental case.
Well, I mean, that's kind of the role you have to play,
Joe's
right?
seen it before on the baseball field. So, so I went to this crazy place and, I was just completely losing my mind. And these nurses were like, you could see that although they've seen some really crazy stuff in their professional career, this is nothing that they've ever been prepared for. So I went in and completely lost my mind, and they're just froze and have no idea what to do. And then the gun comes out and the loud bangs of shooting the guns off. And I'm walking through and it's, it's crazy to think about, but those situations that happen, real life things that have happened, we kind of took that and put it into the training. So I'm walking through shooting and, people are falling left and right, and it's just this crazy, chaotic thing. And it was so real that, I mean, it was insane. And the feedback that we got from that, from the doctors and the nurses, they were like, we need more of this. This is amazing training. So
quick question. The training, was it like, here's what to do, and then we put you in the situation, or it was like, put them in the situation, and then after the fact, here's what you should have done?
Yeah, so they knew what was going to be coming, but they didn't know how to act.
Okay, you didn't.
So we would run through iterations of it. So we would do it the first time, and you would see it would be like this gigantic, oh my God, what is happening? I don't know what to do. They've never had a guy screaming in their face about, their sick father and then pulling a gun out. It's like, most people have no idea what that's like.
Right.
And we would go through, and then we would talk about it afterwards. You would give it, a couple minutes for everything to calm back down, because their adrenaline is through the roof. So then you would give it a few minutes for everything to calm back down, and then you would go back and say, well, what happened? And most of the time, the nurses are like, I didn't know what to do. So then you go back through and you work them through, like, all right, can we de-escalate? If we can't de-escalate, then we need to have a plan of getting some help here, because we're not equipped to deal with this. So, we would go through, immediately calling 911 as you're hiding underneath of a desk. If a guy comes in like this, the moment you think it's going that crazy, you need to either get out of there or take cover or something, but you need to get help on the way also. So we would go through that stuff, and then, we would bring in a couple different nurses, and then those original nurses would be, a different role in acting, and then we would do it again, and then, you would kind of train them up, and then at the end of it, they're like, this is amazing. Now we feel like, in the worst day, we can at least minimize the damage that's caused and get our way out of here. And I would go in there, man, and I would be kicking tables over and picking stuff up and smashing it. Like, we had full reign to do whatever we wanted in this hospital, and they were totally cool with it. They're like, make it as real as possible. I turned into an animal. It was like nuts.
That's wild, man. So, I mean, I've got so many questions, but like one of the biggest questions that comes to my mind is like, how do you market and sell that kind of service?
Yeah. So
how do you pitch
easy.
that?
So you would think, yeah. So that was done through the police department.
Okay.
And then I started doing all of this outside training and, training through the police department of like, how can we make schools safer? That's the next thing, right? And it's like, well, you go there and you do an evaluation, and it takes days of seeing drop-offs and pickups and, where are the weak points and where are the layers of security at schools and things like that. So I kind of self-taught through all these different trainings, and I was like, that's when I was like, you know what, this would be a great business idea, because there's only so much that a government entity, a police department, can provide. They only have so much staffing. They can only pay so much to have these trainings go on. As a private business, you can go out and offer this. And in my mind, I was like, these businesses are going to eat this up. It's great.
I mean, it's just another example of like, there's a hole in the market. Let's fill it.
Yeah.
That's wild.
So it was me and two other partners. We started the business Security and Survival Solutions. We paid a marketing company for all the graphics and, the whole 9 yards. And it ended up being a lot of one or two of the partners going out and trying to find people. And then when we would go out and talk to these businesses, the feedback that I got was, yeah, that sounds cool, but we don't want to do anything like that. We don't need to worry about that kind of stuff. And it's kind of like I found that it was a situation where it's a great idea, but people didn't want it.
Well, everyone thinks it's never going to happen to them, right?
That was exactly what happened.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So people were like, we don't think we have to deal with that, or we don't want to have to worry about those type of situations.
Yeah.
We don't want the liability that goes with it. There was a lot of different reasons of why they didn't want to do it. But that was ultimately the end of that company. And what I learned from that experience was the biggest takeaway for me, in the evolution of business was, one, make sure that if you're going to have partners, you surround yourself with partners that have the same exact work ethic as you do.
Yeah.
And two, if you start something and it fails, it's not the end of the world.
Right.
It really wasn't a big deal. It's like, okay, well, we tested out the market. I tried to make it work. It didn't work. Let me move on to something else.
Yeah. I mean, that's super interesting, but definitely like a very niche product, you know.
It was. Yep.
But pretty cool. Speaking of the partner thing, I've been thinking about replacing Mike for a while.
Dude, I was just thinking to myself, I was like, Joe really ought to replace me.
I thought you were going to say you were going to replace me.
Oh, no, dude. I can never replace you, Joe.
Oh, that's
me?
sweet. Wouldn't that be funny, though, if like we both created a new podcast and it was like The Shift with Mike and Bill, and then there was another one, The Shift with Joe and Matt.
I'm going to text Bill right now.
All right, so man, that's crazy. So what was the next like evolution of business for you?
So you know, what I learned from that one is you may have a great idea. It may sound awesome on paper. Mm-hmm. Might be $1 million idea on paper, but if people don't want it, you know, there's just not a way to do it.
Are there other companies doing that? Like, did you find other people that are doing it?
There was like 2 or 3 that I had found at the time. I don't know if anybody does it anymore, but not to the level that I had planned on doing it.
They weren't going as buck wild as Jeremy.
No, and
Jeremy's like, look at this footage. This could be your workplace.
yeah,
We can destroy your workplace for you for a small fee.
yeah. So there's other companies, but I didn't think that they had the same expertise or ability to put on as good of a training as what we could have. Okay, but
It also reminds me of like the you know, ex-military that offer, you know, private defense or whatever, you know, like those types of people who have been in the military, and then now they create a company where they, you know, drive people around in armored vehicles and that kind of stuff. I mean, I know it's not the same thing, but kind of has a similar vibe.
yeah, using their background to
right.
kind of build something out of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So what was
So then after that, I said, me and a partner from the first company said, all right, well, that didn't sell. What is something that people absolutely have to have? It's like, well, grass doesn't stop growing. It's like, so if you start a landscaping company, grass is always going to grow. It has to get cut. There's plenty of people that don't want to cut their own grass. Let's just do that. So we started that. Kicking Grass Landscaping is the name. Yeah, cool name, right?
I like that, yeah.
I always wanted to have a bunch of kids and get them all T-shirts that said "kicking ass and mowing grass." I don't know why.
Yeah, that would be cool.
It's just always been a dream of mine.
Yeah, let's do that business. Yeah, that's cool.
Hey, Jeremy's in the apparel business now. So.
Yeah, I'll make your shirts and I'll give you all I'll give you all the background you need of doing the landscaping company. Right. So I started that with a partner from the ground up. We started with my Craftsman like Sears version ride-on mower that was terrible. It took forever.
4-point turns.
Yeah, it was like 4-point turns. It was absolutely miserable. I had a push mower, a weed whacker, and that. And it was like, all right, let's go out and do this. So we did, and it was probably one of the most fun times I had running a business. It was so cool, man. We would just drive around and just go cut grass. And it's like the bullshitting in between. And it was really cool. So we went from that to now we had contracts of customers where we would get every other week or whatever, and we built the client base to where every other week we would go and cut their grass, and then money is steadily strolling in. So I bought a zero turn, then I was buying the high commercial equipment, and it kind of grew. And what I found is that it went from being really, really cool to really, really, really hard work.
Yeah.
And I was like, this kind of sucks. I would work 40 hours in the police department, and then in the afternoons when I got off, I'd be out cutting grass all day, every day.
Yeah.
Or throwing mulch and, stuff like that. It's like, oh, this kind of sucks. I'm never home. The money's not amazing. It's mediocre. I mean, you can get by. So I did that for like a year. And I was like, there's got to be something else that I can do. And so that led into real estate, which is really where the marketing
Right.
came in. So I used the money from landscaping to.
I was just wondering about that.
Sorry.
So I used the money that I made from landscaping to put myself through the real estate school and all of that stuff, and kind of hit the ground running with branding and all of that stuff in real estate. And that was more of a solo deal.
Right.
So it was that turning point from my first company. I was so scared that it was going to fail and I was going to be bankrupt, because that's what you hear, that I brought on 2 other partners. And then I was like, all right, this failed, but it wasn't terrible. Let me just move on to this. And I had 1 partner, still a little bit of a safety blanket there, right? And then I was like, you know what? I'm a person that can just get things done. I'll just do it on my own. And I did real estate. And you still have brokers that you have to work with, within that's, the law, you have to have a broker. But everything that I did in real estate was me. It was me doing it. Everything from, contacting clients, establishing a database of clients, client relationship management software, CRMs, and, having a certain amount of touches with clients and all of that stuff. I learned all of this kind of on the fly through real estate. And I had a fantastic broker, Elizabeth Jennings. She was with Coldwell Banker. She's with Berkshire Hathaway now. But she told me when I came, so I started at what they call a boutique brokerage, and they were great as well. But it was not as much about the branding. And, when you see real estate agents that have really good branding, like Crystal Smith is an example. She has really good branding. Like, what kind of client or what kind of service you're going to get when you go to her. So I always kind of admired that kind of thing. So I left the boutique brokerage and went to Coldwell Banker, where I met Elizabeth. And when I sat down with her, she's like, man, you are just kind of on a different level as far as what we normally see when agents come in. I had already sold, I think, 12 houses or 15 houses that first year. She's like, you're kind of on a different level. I would really like to have you, she said. And I didn't really believe her at the time, but she's like, I can tell you that you're going to do this for like 3 years, and then you're going to find something else that's going to be bigger and better than real estate. She said, that's what you're going to do. And she's like, I just want to have you for those 3 years. And I'm like, all right. And I think that she was really sincere in that. Like, I think that she saw that the business mindset and those kind of things, like, she could help me. And I think that intrigued her, because she was big into like coaching and life coaching and all of that stuff. And so I was like, you know what, let's do it. So I went to Coldwell Banker. My second year, I think I sold 30 houses. Damn. And then my third year in real estate, I sold close to 50. And
That sounds like a lot. I mean, I don't know shit about real estate, but it sounds like a lot.
And it's a shit ton of money. I mean, It was insane. It's stupid money. That's not why I did it, but it was, obviously a cool byproduct of, being a good customer service and selling houses and making sure people were taken care of. And I think building the branding, and, it was to the point where I was named one of the top 100 real estate agents for Chesapeake Real Producers. And, then you get into this whole other thing where you're like surrounding yourself by these millionaire real estate agents. And it's
Right.
like, oh my God, this is kind of crazy.
And were you doing that while still doing police work?
Yeah.
At the same time?
Yeah.
Damn.
And it was kind of insane, because it would be 80-hour work weeks. You 40
Right.
hours in the police department, then 40 hours either showing houses, writing contracts, attending inspections, all this different stuff that went with real estate, all the while still trying to focus on building the brand. And I had my own logo, and it was really, really cool. And Elizabeth kind of pushed me through all of this and showed me, the marketing and how it works and what you really need to do to be successful. And I just kind of took that and ran with it. And I did it for about 3 years. And it was awesome. It was great. And then the interest rates started changing. I said, I don't want to be in a situation, again, this transparent part, where I feel the need to be extra transparent with people. Most real estate agents at the time, and I'm not saying they're wrong for the advice that they were giving, but they would still be pushing for people to buy or sell and stuff like that. And in my mind, the financial side of it, I'm like, maybe some situations it's a good time to buy or sell. For the majority of people, this is not a great time to buy or sell a house. And I just,
Yeah, you never talk to a real estate agent who's like, yeah, it's just not a good time. There's always some spin on why
Now is the time.
yeah, you do see that. And it is frustrating because I just kind of felt like, you know what? I'm not down with this, man. Like, I don't want to have to sell in order to support myself. I didn't like being in that situation. So that's kind of where I fell out of love with that is I don't want people to make a life-changing decision based on, how many houses I feel like I need to sell that year. And there's, some language and laws and stuff that prevent that, where you have to represent the client and all of that, and their best interests. But, like you said, you don't see real estate agents saying,
Yeah,
no,
there's always a way to rationalize what's in someone's best interest or what's that's such a subjective term.
Yes,
It's just
it
like
is.
best interest can be. I mean, we went through that with the foster care system. It's like everyone's just walking around, oh, we're just going to do what's best for the kids, and it's like you're doing the opposite of that, and you're just slapping that label on it, and now you do whatever you want, basically.
Yeah, and it sounds good.
Yeah.
And it feels good to be able to say that. But for me, as trying to be as genuine as I can be, I just didn't feel it. I didn't feel that anymore. I was like, you know what? This is not for me. I'm just going to take a break.
Yeah.
And what that turned into was a much bigger passion for youth sports, coaching. And I always say, like, I gave up a business where I was selling 50 houses a year to be a youth baseball coach for free. And that's kind of hard for people to comprehend how big of a transition that really is. I mean,
I was thinking that when you were talking about it. Yeah.
You're talking, maybe a couple $100,000 a year that you go from making that to, all right, now I'm going to be a free baseball coach for people. But the cool part of that is I really ended up surrounded with awesome people in the kids and the families that we have. Like, we have really amazing families, and then you start meeting people outside of that, in the travel baseball community. Like Joe Athey was one of the first people that I talked to for travel baseball, and that guy's, in my opinion, is trying to do things the right way. And then I moved to BSB Black Sox, Big B's Black Sox, where I met Bruce and Larry and those guys. And the community is much different there in baseball than it ever was in any other business that I had. Everything else was kind of like selling these ideas and customer service, yes, but real estate was more like sales, whereas baseball became just I can just go out and enjoy myself.
Plus, I would think if you're working 80 hours a week, you're not really seeing your family that much.
Never.
So this is like a way to sort of, hit that. Like, I'm assuming you're with. It sounds like, based on what you said earlier, you're with your family now in this new venture. So that's like two birds with one stone there.
Exactly. And I have the family business aspect. I'll have my other kids that don't play baseball. They're at home drawing designs for different cool shirts that they think would look cool, and they're like, "Did you get this to the designer yet, Dad? I want to see what it looks like, on the screen and stuff like that." So it's you can do much more with your family than what I could do with any other business venture that I had.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. It's definitely what you're doing now. You have a question?
I got a question for you. Can we take a quick break?
No, we can't take a break.
All right, I gotta pee, dude. I'm sorry.
Mike, are you serious?
Yeah, I'm serious.
All right, fine. We're gonna keep talking.
Okay.
All right. Unbelievable. Put your mic in so it's not in front of my face. Don't stand. God, this guy. So anyway, do you know any other good podcasting, guys
I
that?
think there was a guy named Bill or something I heard somebody talking about
Bill.
earlier.
All right. Well, I guess one thing I definitely wanted to get into, this fucking guy, was the police stuff, man. I mean, that's, I don't know how much you can tell us or talk about, but I would love to hear, how did you get into that? What did you do? What was that all about?
So when I was in high school, and I went to Votech, and I went for machining. So I started with that as my first job, and I did that for 2 years while going through the rest of high school, and I started community college. And when I went to community college, I did the same thing that everybody does, when CSI was big on TV, and you watch all that stuff.
Oh, right.
Like, you know what? I'm going to go to school for criminal justice.
Right.
It's
Yeah,
like,
that was a popular one.
What does a criminal justice degree get you? And it's which I guess there is some things, but for me it was nothing. And so I went to school for criminal justice, and one of my first professors was Ron Bateman. He was a captain in the police department at the time. Then he moved to sheriff of the sheriff department, like the sheriff. And now he's an author and all kinds of cool stuff. But so he was my professor, and one of the requirements for his college class was you had to go on a ride along. And I was like, that sounds cool. Let's do that.
I was going to say, you mean you got to go on a ride along?
So I did. So I went on this ride along with a police officer who's since passed, Mark Finley. And I mean, we could have a 10-hour show on stories of what that guy did in his career. But he was one of the larger than life type of personality type of people. You meet people that are just different, and he was that. And I went on a ride along with him, and we would be flying up and down the road, doing traffic stops, all in this 8-hour period. We went to traffic stops. We would respond to, different like theft calls, and then we went to this call at a large event place, and it was for this fight call of like, it was supposed to be like 30 people fighting. I remember going on this call with him, and we're flying to get to it, and he's, putting on these black leather gloves, and I'm like, oh shit, this is about to get real.
He's getting ready to kick somebody's ass.
So I'm like, this is awesome, right? And so he grabs this big wooden city stick, and he's like, all right, let's go. And I'm like, go? I'm going with you? And he's like, yeah, come on, you can come just to sit in the car, did you? I'm like, nope, let's go. So we walk into this big event establishment, and I mean, there's 500 people there. And we're just walking through crowds of people, and I'm thinking like, man, this is going to get crazy real fast. Right. It ended up being, it was like an argument. It wasn't really a big fight. But that adrenaline that I got from, going 100 miles an hour in a car with lights and siren, and, showing up to this event for this big fight call and all this stuff. And I'm like, that's pretty cool. I wonder if I can do another ride along. So I did another ride along, and I went with someone else. And it was a totally opposite experience of what the first one was.
Right.
And the draw for me was that there was such a difference. So the second one, we pulled some cars over. He showed me the cool places to eat. And, it was just a overall like relaxed day. And I'm like, all right, so you could go from, sitting there just eating, a sandwich or whatever from your favorite sub shop, and then all of a sudden you're getting a call and you have to go 120 miles an hour and your adrenaline's pumping, and you could be showing up to God knows what. And I didn't really know the extent of it at that time, but I knew that, police work could be crazy. So I was like, well, this is pretty badass. That's a fun job. It's something different all the time. So at the time, the Anne Arundel Police Department had a cadet program. So I went through that. And I became a cadet, which was supposed to get you between 18 to 21, because you can't be a cop until you're 21.
I was going to say, how old were you at this point?
It was like 18.
Okay.
So I did, I don't know, like a year and a half, 2 years at that police department. And then the county executive at the time fired all of the cadets and eliminated the academy classes. Big political mess. And I'm like, well, God, this is terrible. Now all I want to do is go be a police officer, and now I've just been laid off. So the Maryland Transportation Authority came in, and they were like, we'll take all of you. So I'm like, all right, cool. So I go to that police department, and the same, polarity that the two ride-alongs had was the same thing with the Anne Arundel Police Department and the Transportation Authority. Anne Arundel is full service. Transportation Authority is, for me at that time as a cadet, I was walking around guarding crosswalks at the airport. I'm like, man, this shit sucks.
This is not what I signed
cool
up
at all. And,
Somebody do something wrong.
Yeah. And it's like, this is terrible. So, so that wasn't what I was looking for. So, I went through 3 months of the Transportation Authority Academy to be a full police officer when I was 20. And then all the while I was processing to go back to Anne Arundel because I knew that's what I wanted to do. And so I went through 3 months of their academy at Transportation Authority. Anne Arundel called me and was like, hey, you have your job. And I'm like, sweet. So I resigned from the Transportation Authority after 3 months there in their academy and went and did another 6 or 7 months of academy at Anne Arundel, which, the police academy in itself was different then than it is now. It was more like military boot camp, in your face, all day, every day, just beat you down to build you back up.
Intense, yeah.
Yeah. And so I went through the police academy at Anne Arundel, came out. I did several years on patrol. I mean, I could give you 100 stories from that just alone of patrol work. That was just kind of a different type of police work. And then I went into narcotics and did that for about a year. Transferred out of narcotics back to patrol work for another 3 or 4 years, then back to narcotics for
And this is all within Anne Arundel
6 or
County?
7 years. Yep.
Okay.
And then the most recent time that I went through and was a narcotics detective, I did major offender cases. So like the top guys that, you see about on the news and stuff.
That's wild, man. Mm-hmm. Did you do like undercover stuff? Are you allowed to talk about that?
Yeah, I did. So, after patrol the first time and I went into narcotics, I was district level. So I've got pictures of me, with just this crazy beard, and I did the typical what narcotics cops do, like you grow out the beard, you think you're cool. So I did that for a while.
Jacket.
Yeah, and then so then that transitioned into kind of just, I guess, acting and understanding that role of if you're gonna go and do true undercover work, you have to embrace that. So we talked about that acting in the as a mental guy at the hospital, same thing. You have to completely submerge yourself in this role of, all right, I'm a crackhead looking for his next fix, Right. And so I did that, and I was really, really successful with it. I would go, and most people would probably not understand how easy it is when you're in that world. Like I would go and just walk around in Brooklyn and
people probably come up to you.
Buy drugs from people.
Yeah.
I actually did have that. I was sitting in my truck at a liquor store, my undercover truck at a liquor store, and I was just sitting there. Mm-hmm. And I guess I looked like I was waiting for someone, and this guy in the car next to me was like, hey man, you waiting on somebody? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, what you waiting on? And being new into it, I was like, a girl. And he's like, oh, you're looking for a girl? And
girl, all right, girl, boy, which one?
Yeah. And I'm like,
I got them both, bro.
Yeah, girl. And he's like, I got you. You want a girl? And I'm like, it takes you a second. I'm like, oh shit, sure. He's offering me coke. I would love some girl. Thank you.
I would like cocaine, please.
Yeah. So that was, just
this
one.
whole time I thought we were talking about prostitution.
Yeah. But in my mind, initially, I'm like a girl, thinking like, I'm telling him that I'm like waiting on a girl, like my
like your girlfriend or
to
something.
come out or whatever. And, he just assumed that I was talking about coke. And he's
See,
like,
I'm a former
coke?
drug addict, so I knew exactly what he was talking about.
What is boy?
Heroin.
Oh, well, should have figured that.
Yeah. So
What is pot? Or is that not really a
well,
thing?
if you're an older guy, dope.
Yeah.
People call pot dope.
What's the code word, though?
Weed, bud.
Yeah, there's lots of different
There's
ones.
no like bi or trans or something for
We tried to push. We tried to come up with a new name for pot, and we called it produce for a while.
There you go.
Never really.
Broccoli.
I thought
that
it was
was
cool.
It never really
that was
took
a thing
off.
It
for
never
a
took
while.
off.
That's
no.
a cool name.
I remember hearing it called broccoli for a while, like when I was in high
You
school.
made that up.
Really?
No, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, when you're in that world, man, like spotting a crackhead is not too
Well,
hard.
that's what they would do, And it's like,
So you were really playing the part. They're like, yeah,
it's
dude,
it's
definitely.
funny, man, because it's like, my wife will tell people about, the time that,
Jeremy was a
I
crackhead.
looked like a homeless crackhead. And, I would be, standing at 7-Eleven and people would come up to me, hey, you need anything? It's like, I sure do, sir.
So what do you do? So what's
Sorry, do you guys ever watch It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
I have
Oh,
seen
Joe.
The scene where the brother and sister go and they're buying crack for the first time, and they got the window rolled down, and they're like, we would like one crack rock, please.
Yeah.
Is that enough? Is that enough for us too? No, we would like 2 crack rocks. It's just so funny. Like, first time they ever bought crack. It's hilarious.
so like someone comes up to you and offers you don't bust them, right? You're like
No.
you're just gathering information at that point, or like,
Yeah, so a lot of sometimes you would do like a buy bust, like if you had your takedown team right there ready to just start grabbing people.
but not when you're just sitting there trying to like wait for somebody.
Yeah, a lot of times you would have your takedown team. While I would never do it where it was like just me, just wandering around Brooklyn by myself. Mm-hmm. That's kind of unsafe. So I didn't do that. But I would have what they called then the tactical patrol guys. The guys in the vest, the big meathead dudes that are ready to just jump out and grab people.
Okay.
They would be in a car nearby also and watching what happened.
So
That's
you're
got to be a fun job too. Like,
So
you're just
Yeah.
ready to
yeah.
pounce.
So there's a scenario where it's just like, okay, we're gonna go out. You're gonna sit in your truck.
Yeah.
And we're just gonna wait.
We're gonna go watch Jeremy until something happens.
Wow.
Yeah. And it wouldn't take long. It's like it's not like
Right.
it's not like they're going to be sitting there for 8 hours and I'm just kind of sitting in a truck. And at that time I smoked cigarettes and I really looked like you would have no idea that I was a cop.
Yeah.
I would think though, like in a place, I mean, Brooklyn's big, but it's not that. You're talking about Brooklyn, Maryland, right? Okay. Like that, it would get around. Like, okay, the dude with the big beard, like, don't offer him.
You would think.
Doesn't really.
Well, I mean,
know.
you guys are still kind of like incognito about it, right? I mean, it's not like you're gonna give yourself up. You got to do it kind of secretively. So
Yeah. Yeah. So, even the times that they jumped out and grabbed people, I'd take off in my truck and they would have no idea.
As if
Yeah.
you were surprised as they were.
Yeah.
you're not like, ha, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're not involved in the grabbing. You're just like, oh crap, I'm out.
Typically
here.
not, unless
Okay.
unless shit really goes bad. Then I mean, I have had that situation where I've had to grab people. The one situation that was like that was, and it's funny. So the second time that I did narcotics, I kind of did the same thing, where I was, it was kind of a niche thing. Is the guys that could go do undercover, and even the most badass cops that you've ever seen, some of them that have tried to go with me to do undercover stuff, they'd be like, no, I'm good. I don't want to do that.
Right.
So it's kind of like a niche thing.
It's-
Well, yeah,
You
'cause
either got
there's
it or
their
you don't.
acting part of it, I would think, is and like
acting.
if you're like a super. I'm not saying you're not a squared away guy or something, but if you're like buzz cut, like super, like diesel, it's like it's a cop.
Yeah, well,
That's
they're
a-
not going to believe that somebody who's all super jacked and
Right.
fit is a crackhead because
Right.
you're not going to be
Right.
going to the gym.
So you have to like give that up.
But there's also the safety side of it, like you don't wear a vest.
yeah,
Instead of
good
like
point.
the real gun, the big gun that has 15 bullets in it if shit really goes crazy, you have that plus another 30 bullets on your magazine, plus you have your taser and your asp and all that stuff.
Right.
You have none of that. You have a little tiny gun that's like this big, that's in your, in the small of your back, that's a pain in the ass to get to.
Right.
And if something really happens, you're in trouble. It's easier to get away than it is to fight in those situations.
Yeah.
Wild, man. So did you in that time? Were you guys ever successful in like working your way up to get somebody at a really high level?
Yeah. So
Pablo
I did.
Escobar, you've heard of him? No, I'm just kidding.
So I did a lot of street level work and working with informants and all of that stuff to build cases. So I did that for a couple years, and then I transferred to the major offenders unit, and that's where I got into and almost obsessed really with the idea of taking down like large scale drug dealers. Like it was cool, you know, going out and grabbing the corner dealers and stuff. And, you know, you get the adrenaline dump. And, you know, again, that's a lot of what the idea of that line of work revolves around.
Right.
But I had heard of and I had seen other people in other departments, and, you know, one or two in that department that would get like really big seizures. And that's badass. I want to do that.
Yeah.
So I transferred to that. So while I was still at the district level, I worked a case that worked up to that level, and then I had to involve the major offenders unit. And that's kind of how I got tied into that. But yeah, so we went from buying drugs from 8 or 9 different street level dealers, whether it be through hand-to-hand buys where it would be a cop or me going out and buying drugs from these street level guys, or a CI buying drugs from the street level guys, to the analytical side of things. And it really kind of pushed my brain in that direction, because it was like learning something new. And then you have to figure out, you know, it ended up being like 7 or 8 guys that all fed to this one guy.
Right.
And so I built that case basically from the ground up, and I had to the point where I got to the main guy, and we did a wiretap, and then started putting these pieces together of what's he doing, how's he getting it, you know, who's he have working under him. And he had a drug phone that he would pass off to other people so that they can continue making money while he was sleeping, or, you know, one of the many girls that he would be hanging out with them. He'd be like, here's my phone. You go do that. I'm going to go do this. So that was pretty cool. And then, like I said, the wiretap ended up leading where he was flying to California, and he would meet with a cartel guy there. And he would arrange for deals to go from, you know, get drugs from California to bring them back. And what he would do is he would have a car carrier ship a car to California, and then the drug dealer, the cartel guy out there, would put the duffel bag of 10 bricks of coke in this car, and then the car carrier, unbeknownst to them, the next one that he hired would be shipping the car back to Maryland. And he'd be there to receive it and get all of his drugs. He would ship it out with money, send it back with drugs. And he, you know, basically used an unwitting courier to get money from one side of the country to the other, and then to get drugs back to his part of the country.
How long does an investigation like that, like how long does it take you to get from like the street level to, okay, this is what he's doing and where it's coming from?
Yeah, that was like probably 9 or 10 month investigation.
Yeah.
And we listened to him for several months.
Do you think like this particular case, like was he being sloppy, or was it difficult to figure all that out, or was he like pretty legit in his, you know, illegal business and did a good job of covering his tracks?
I think most of the people that we go after, their ego is what ends up getting them caught.
Yeah.
And he was no different than that. I wouldn't say he was sloppy. He had a businessman mentality. He would have, you know, he would be bouncing around different areas, and he would line up. I mean, listening to the calls was just miserable, because he would have 20 people in a line at this spot, and he would go there, and it would take him 30 seconds. Boom, they all have what they need. And he already has another 30 deals lined up at this next spot, and people would be sitting in that parking lot waiting for it. Boom, he hit them. And just bouncing back and forth and back and forth. And it was incredible. It was illegal, but he had an incredible work ethic.
Right.
This guy was just all over the place. But, you know, he also, part of the reason why we took so long to get him as opposed to just grabbing him when we knew he had drugs, was he had a terrible criminal background where he had killed a guy and was already out of jail. And he shot a guy on a drug deal. And so it's like, all right, let's really go after this guy. And, you know, when you go to that level of that investigation, I think that guy got 30 years in jail. He's not coming back out. And that's good, because that's the guys that you want to get.
Yeah, that's wild, man. when I asked that question, like one of my first things that came to my mind when you were talking about the car courier service was like, that's all. I mean, you're not paying for that in cash, I wouldn't think. So it's like all traceable, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you can pay those guys in cash on delivery,
Really?
but yeah. And it was fun. That particular case was hilarious because the takedown of that case was hilarious anyway because so he had sent this car out and we knew it was a truck and we knew what truck was coming back. And it was our department and another allied agency that had been working this case. You know, I was the detective in charge, we'll say, of the case. So I was overseeing the takedown and, you know, the whole thing. Mm-hmm. And then I had a co-detective in charge from the other allied agency. And there was phone calls and, you know, we knew that it was going to be 10 bricks of coke because when he was talking to this cartel guy on the phone, he was saying he wanted 10 chicken nuggets. And it's like, all right, dude, you're not calling a guy about 10 chicken McNuggets in California for one. You know, like, all right. You know, so he was kind of sloppy in that regard. So I knew that there was going to be 10 bricks of coke when it came back. And the car carrier came back and it was, you know, 30 detectives from their agency, 30 detectives from our agency. We took him off. He had, you know, assault rifles and all kinds of crazy stuff. Plus another guy had brought him a brick that we grabbed from New Jersey, all like in this takedown. So it was like this massive coordination of efforts and, you know, pieces that everything had to go right. SWAT teams hitting doors, SWAT teams ripping this guy. It was insane. And it all came down to, you know, he was in jail at this point. The car arrived, the truck arrived, and there's this, you know, 30 detectives here, 30 detectives here. And during one of the phone calls, the car carrier asked if there was anything of value in the truck that he was shipping. And he said, yeah, I got a box speaker in the back seat. And we're like, all right, cool. That's where all the drugs are going to be, right? Obviously. It was so obvious to us. So the truck gets here, and there's a state's attorneys are there. We ripped this box speaker out of the back of the car. It wasn't wired in or anything. We're like, clearly that's where, you know, they're concealing the drugs. So we get it to the tailgate, and it's got all these screws in it. And we were so hell-bent mindset that this is where the drugs were going to be. We had Phillips head screwdriver in one hand, then my co-affiant had a screwdriver in her hand, and we're racing to see who can get the screws out fastest, you know? There's going to be this big, aha, this is so cool, look at all these drugs. And there must have been 30 screws in this speaker box, and it's like, man, it took us forever to get this. You know, our hands are cramping, and we're like this. And we finally get it, and we open the speaker, and there's absolutely nothing inside the speaker.
Right.
And we're like, shit, what do we do now?
Right.
And so I'm like, this is not right. That's crazy. There had to have been drugs in this car. So I grabbed a crowbar and I'm like looking inside the truck and I'm like, I don't think that dash looks right. It looks abnormal to me. So I'm like pulling on things, trying to get it to see if it's loose. I grabbed the crowbar and it was just like the most gentle, like this, and the whole front of the dash falls off, and there's just, you know, drugs wrapped up inside of the dash.
So how do you
It was cool.
Yeah.
like eliminate the courier? Like the courier must be like, oh my, like was he?
You could tell. So like when you stop the car carrier and you're like, I need to grab this car, he's like, why? Like, you know, and they're totally cooperative and they have no idea. Like they're assigned from a larger car courier company.
Okay, so like
they have no clue.
You know from the pre-work that you've done, like, okay, like
listening
this
to
guy's
phone
not
calls.
involved.
Yeah. You know that guy had nothing to do with any of it.
Okay.
But I would think that, you know, car couriers, is it courier or carrier?
And yeah, and do you investigate?
It would be a common thing. Like, I mean, that he can't be the first person
Right.
to use a car courier service
and
to
what a
transport
perfect
drugs.
way. That's you ought to be looking into those courier services.
Couriers.
Well, I think I understand the question, but I think that there's a level of safety involved for the bad guy if the courier has no idea what he's transporting.
Yeah.
You've eliminated that risk of the courier ripping you off if they have no idea what they're transporting. So that's why they they use people that are not involved.
But I mean, vertical integration, we learned that last podcast. That drug dealer ought to start his own car courier.
That is true.
So that's funny. So that's another case that I worked where they did. The guy had a shop, and he had he was starting a car courier business, and he was doing the same thing. He was getting drugs from Texas, the cartels there, and that was something he was doing. He was using a legitimate business front, and his plans were he had bought a tractor trailer and he was going to do all this. He didn't make it there. We got him before he could open up that side of the business, but he had like a legitimate business. You would think that this guy was a totally legitimate businessman. He had cars coming in that he would work on, until you really spent 40 to 60 hours a week watching this guy, and you're like, that's bullshit. This guy, there's not really work going on there. So that was another one that I did where we did a wiretap on that guy, and it ended up being, I think, 18 bricks of coke coming out of a truck that was shipped from Texas.
What's the net profit roughly on like a brick of coke?
So the first guy that we talked about, we got about $500,000 in cash seized from his condo that he was living in.
Wow.
So as another, as police officers, we think we know most things, and most times we don't. I can say that after 22 years. Most things are just happy accidents when you get lucky. But he had this all stored, and I'm looking around the room because I don't see one, but like above a door, a vent, and he had stacks of cash in there, and you wouldn't see it. Well, one detective got lucky and just happened to look through this vent and saw it, and was like, "Oh shit, there's money there." So we pulled like, I think, $300,000 out of that, and that was the one day. We were listening to some phone calls that he had while he was incarcerated, and he had sent his mom over to look in the vent. And we're like, what? We already got it. So you could hear the mom on the phone with him, and she's like, it's dark in here. Oh, no, they already got it. The vent's off the wall. And he's like, did you check the other one? She's like, yeah, there's nothing in there. And she just assumed that there was, we had got,
You must have got it.
that's what that he was talking about was that one vent. Yeah. She missed the fact that he said, did you check the other one?
Oh, wow.
So then we wrote another search warrant and went back there and pulled another $200,000 out of another vent in a wall that she didn't know about. Yeah, it was just this big pile of cash. It was pretty cool. So to answer the question, a ton of money. Usually, a brick would go for 20 to 25,000. If you break that down, like the first guy was selling it to the end user at $100 a gram. It's 1,000 grams in a kilo of coke. I don't know, what is 100 times 1,000?
It's a lot.
100,000, right?
Then they step on it a bunch of times.
Yeah, they step on it a bunch of
Make
times.
more
So
and more money.
At minimum, if you did it that way, you'd be making 60 to 70,000.
Jeez.
You can understand why, people are willing to like just break the law and put all this effort into like concealing their tracks because it's just so much money. It's insane.
It's insane. Yeah.
You guys ever seen the movie Triple Frontier? Man, it's a good movie. But you were talking about like hiding the money in vents, but the whole premise of this movie is they're like ex-military guys, and there's some lead that they have to a big cartel guy in like Peru or something like that.
Okay.
So they put this team together, like ex-SWAT team guys, and they go down and they rob this cartel guy's house, and he has money in the walls, like it's all behind the drywall. They go in there and they're like, "What the fuck? Where's the money at?" And the guy like is mad and like punches the wall, and there's money back there, and it's like the whole entire house. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like it's totally crazy. Are you awake?
I'm just thinking about like where there might be money.
Yeah, when you buy a house,
Mike's like,
check
is
the
there
vents, right?
money in these
yeah,
walls?
start looking around. You never know.
That's wild, man.
On a wild goose chase for money.
What was the craziest? You told us about the one undercover experience where you were just sitting there in the van. Are there any other like totally wild stories about being undercover?
Yeah. So one time I was undercover, and it was funny because I was undercover in an area where I had been a patrol officer, right before. So it's not like when you at the time anyway, when you were a patrol officer and you got transferred into the district narcotics unit, it's not like, you went to a different district or an area where you had never worked before. So I went into the same district and I transformed from the clean cut patrol guy back to crackhead Jeremy. And,
we got to get a picture. Do you have any other pictures?
I'm sure I have pictures.
Man, you got to
That's the
send me a
thumbnail
picture so
right
we
there.
can put it on the,
I definitely have
on the screen.
So it's funny because I would go out and interact with people that I had literally just interacted with 2 weeks before as a police officer in full uniform. Now I'm interacting with them as this other persona, and they have no idea.
Right.
And the one guy stands out. I don't remember his name, and I probably shouldn't say it if I did. But this guy had been around that area forever. And I had dealt with him as a uniform patrol officer 20 times.
Right.
From him fighting other people to him getting his ass kicked to just, always just, he's the guy that was just always in trouble. And I had talking to him one time, and essentially, just through like friendly conversation and, portrayed myself as a drug user. And he's like, yeah, I got you, man. Come on, let's go. And he hopped in the back of the car, me and another detective who had never done undercover stuff before. So that was kind of like the point of this mission, was to get him some experience to see if he enjoyed it or liked it or whatever. And not at all prepared for that situation that day. Could have been really bad, but it wasn't. So hops in the car, we go to a shitty hotel in Laurel, and he's like, what do you want? I told him, I don't remember what it was, probably like $100 of Coke. And he's like, all right, I'll be back. So he goes up into this hotel, and I'm like, well, either he's going to come back with our $100, or he's going to come back with drugs, or he's not going to come back at all. And we'll just charge him with theft. Because I know who this guy is. I just dealt with him. And so he comes back out, and he's in the back seat, and now he's got drugs on him. His paranoia is up, and he's like, you guys sure you're not cops? And I'm like, no, man. Why would it be? No, of course not. I'm thinking like, you dumbass.
Yeah. Like,
I just talked to you, dude.
yes, we are.
So
You got us.
so he's like, all right, cool. All right. Can I get something from me? And I'm like, no, man. Like, I gave you $100. Give me my shit. So he reaches up and gives it to us. And in that moment, I was like, shit. On purpose, I have nothing that identifies me as police. The people that were watching us, I guess they got bored that day and were out doing traffic stops instead of watching us.
Oh, shit.
So now we're in a situation where we're just hanging out with the drug dealer in the back seat. I have my
actually
drugs.
illegal.
He wants, to smoke drugs with us. And I'm
Right.
like, well, we can't do that. That's out of the question.
I was going to ask that question.
Not allowed to do that. Can't do that. What am I like? How the hell am I going to get this guy out of the car? So, me and another cop are here, and this guy's in the back seat, and I'm like, shit. What if he's got like a weapon or something? We need to get out of this situation. Like, this is really turning bad. Like, you're waiting for the cavalry to come, and they ain't coming, and it's like, oh, okay. So, what I came up with in that moment was, I pulled a radio out of the center console and identified myself that way.
Oh.
A police radio. And I'm like,
Oh.
all right, man, like, we're cops. And I showed him the radio. And it worked. He believed it, thankfully, even though it wasn't like true credentials or anything. And he jumps out of the car and bolts.
Right.
And I'm like, all right, so now, where you said, like, that would be cool, that job of being the grab guy, that was never me. I wasn't the guy that wanted to go and do that stuff. It just wasn't my forte. But in that moment, now you have to be. So we both jump out of the car and chase this guy down and grab him in the back of the hotel parking lot. And there's like people around, and it just looks like, Jeremy the crackhead fighting,
Fight.
Yeah.
Joe the drug guy, and it's like in this parking lot, and
Why'd you got to be Joe?
all right, we'll be Bob the drug dealer. Yeah. So it was just it was one of those moments. It was just absolutely crazy because I have nothing to identify myself as police, but I'm just fighting this drug dealer in this parking lot. It was just a total mess.
Wow.
Dude, that'd be a good move if you weren't a police officer. You're just like, yeah, dude, I'm the police. You're gonna have to like give me all that now.
Right. Give me those drugs right now.
Well, so
Free drugs.
I mean, that's funny that you say that though, because the biggest thing for drug dealers is getting robbed. They ultimately, most of the time, the street level guys, they have to answer to somebody. So you get robbed by a drug user, you're screwed because you have to go tell somebody that you lost the drugs. So that's where the violence parts comes in. So, if he didn't believe that we're police and he did have a gun, then what? Then he's pulling the gun and trying to shoot his way out of a bad situation for him.
Yeah.
So that's why it's like, you don't think about that at the time, but afterwards it's like, holy shit, that could have been way bad.
So you didn't carry like a badge or anything? And you didn't have like the small gun on you?
I had a small gun in my back pocket, but so it kind of puts you in a bad situation because it's like
Draw that and
you pull a gun,
right?
You don't have anything to show you as police. He doesn't have a gun. What are you going to do with a gun in your hand? I can't even fight at that point.
Right.
So it's like, oh, well, you better just be ready to throw hands with somebody if that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, that's the risk, I guess, of doing that line of work.
That and like, so I did, part of narcotics was picking up prostitutes and flipping them, and that whole side of the world is crazy too, because then you're really relying on people to stop you because I don't want anything to do with a prostitute and she's in the car.
Right, yeah.
Shit starts to get too real and my cavalry's not there yet.
She's like, what are you waiting for, big man?
Yeah, like pull it out. It's like, I don't want to do that. So yeah, that.
I just hired you for your company tonight.
Yeah, I just rather, can we just talk?
pull a pretty woman on her.
Yeah.
Do you have a blue chew by chance?
Yeah, so, all of those situations where you're really just kind of revolving down to something that you're not at all is there's obstacles that come in that you would not even think until you go through it.
Well, I've always wondered, and you watch like documentaries and stuff, about like undercover infiltrating this gang and that kind of, I've watched a whole bunch of that kind of stuff, and they always get to like the point where it's time for the other undercover cop, like, are you going to do these drugs or you're not, and it's always like, they're very vague about, and the documentaries, of course, are like, sometimes I had to snort some coke.
I was going to say, like, if you had done it in that situation, I feel like there would have been, is there some grace there? Like, okay, like you were in this situation and your people left you to go do traffic stops and you had to make a decision and you made this decision because.
Yeah, I think no. I think there's no grace.
Okay.
I think, at least where I work, so no, that's not an option. Like you have to figure out something other than that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's illegal, right? And that's what you're trying to catch them for.
Yeah, and plus, the health side of that, like, some of this stuff.
Yeah, who knows what's in it, right?
Then God knows where your
that
life goes.
and or like then you're under the influence, right? Like so your judgment and what you're trying to do is compromised.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's wild, dude.
It gets really wild. I mean, it gets pretty crazy. A lot of that stuff.
So, did you play baseball growing up?
I did. I played baseball growing up until I got to high school. And then when I got to high school, I weighed 85 pounds my freshman year. You couldn't tell by looking at me now, but I was a really, really small kid. So baseball just was not in the cards as an 85-pound kid in high school.
Isn't there? Oh, because you have to hit, right? Does everyone hit in baseball?
Yeah. I mean, just the...
Is that a real question?
I don't know.
Just the competition level, as a smaller kid. I mean, baseball, there's plenty of small kids that play. We have small kids on our team, and they're absolute dogs. That's fine.
Yeah, I would think, like, in the outfield, it wouldn't matter, but...
Yeah.
For the...
Yeah, it does. I mean, at 85 pounds and I was 4'11", I was nowhere near as fast as a kid that was 5'9".
Oh, yeah, there's just this thing.
Yeah, you just wasn't as fast. So I did wrestling instead.
Nice.
So I switched to wrestling because that was by weight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
you
funny.
can do well as a little athletic person.
It was cool. So I was 85 pounds my freshman year, and the first weight class in high school was 103 pounds, or at least it was at the time. So I couldn't even wrestle. My freshman year of high school, I couldn't even wrestle for the high school. I had to wrestle in like the Pee Wee League. Mm-hmm. So I was a high school kid wrestling like 10, 11-year-olds.
You were just like slamming them down.
That were like 85, 90 pounds.
King of the division.
I was badass.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you started coaching baseball, did you you had some like strategy and things in mind, or did you have to learn all that as you?
Yeah. So I started off doing Little League when my sons were 7 and 8. It was right after COVID, I think. Yeah, right after COVID is when they were 7 and 8. And COVID, baseball was pretty much shut down. So 7 and 8 was their first year of baseball. So I started off coaching Little League, and that was really just, I really enjoyed it. My older brother, has a son that he coached from the time he was 8 through high school. He coached him in travel baseball in high school. So I had, learned and seen that side of it. So I was excited to do it when my kids got to that point. So I started there doing Little League, and then, which most people will consider like recreational baseball. It's like community baseball. There's no cuts. There's no nothing. And then from there, I saw how cool it was, and I was like, I wonder what the next step of that looks like with travel baseball. And so then I started doing travel baseball with some of the kids from the Little League team and some other kids, and we did that for a year. And then I switched from that organization to the Black Sox in their 10U year. And that was pretty much the change of everything, because the Black Sox are very much like a competitive travel baseball system. And then I really learned from lessons with my kid going to, high level people like Larry, who was a professional baseball player, and Bruce, who coached forever. I learned the baseball side of things watching them.
Okay.
And learn as you go coaching kind of deal.
Cool. Yeah.
And for those who might not know, I'm not sure if Mike realizes this either, but Bigby's Black Sox is Larry Bigby's organization. Larry was a player for the Orioles for a while.
Oh.
And he's in Centerville.
Yeah.
And it sounds like one of the cameras just cut off, so I'll check that in a minute. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty cool that we have that, available.
Locally available.
Locally. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
keep,
where
keep
the
asking
kids
questions. I'm going to check the camera. Okay.
Oh
Mike?
God, I can't ask questions on demand, Joe. Oh man, I'm really blanking out now.
Put you right on the spot.
No, so what do you do like when you first like started coaching? So this is where I'm thinking. What I'm thinking. Like, people have asked me. Like, I played soccer growing up, and I was asked at one point to be like a indoor coach or whatever, and I was like, I didn't have time to do it anyway at the time, but I was like thinking about like what would I do? Like, I even knowing some things about soccer, like, I mean, there's so much to it, because you have to hold practices, format them a certain way. You have to teach the kids like all the fundamentals and all that. But then there's like the strategy aspect of it. Like, did you just get your butts handed to you at first, or were you fairly competitive in the beginning? Or?
Yeah. The first year at 9U, we got our asses kicked like every game. It was, it was pretty bad. I think we went like 1-16. And then, you learn from that, and it's like, everything is learning from what you see. So, even though we were getting our butts whooped, I would be watching and taking note of what those teams that kicked our butts were doing in their pregame warm-ups. The strategy of how they played, and, positions, which kids kind of played which positions, and you just learn as you go, as long as you're not so crazy to think that you know everything. If you can just, set that aside and say, all right, what do they do? How can I do what they do? And I learned that way. So then the second year, 10U, I don't know if did Joey come for 10U, or did he start 11U?
What is 10? Oh, 10U.
10 years old or younger.
Well, I think it's been 2 years, right? Or I guess.
I think he came in 10U.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I switched organizations into Big B's, and they kind of do a good job of developing coaches and teaching you, like, this is the system that we coach under. Like, this is what you're looking for in their swings. And my son goes to lessons with those guys. So, like, you just pick up on it. And, if you really enjoy something and you involve yourself in it, you can learn how to teach a lot of stuff. So that's kind of what I did, is I just learned as I went with watching those guys. And then the team went from 1-16 to, I think we went like, 15-10 the next year or something.
Nice.
Like that. So it was like a huge improvement.
Yeah.
And then then it just develops more and you just kind of add pieces. Some kids go away, some kids come in, and you're always looking to improve the team. Now, in the spring season, I don't know, we won like 25 games and lost 11. So it's just like, we're just steady going up. And it's because, you have to set the expectations of what you're looking for out of the kids, which I think we do a pretty good job on our team, of them working on their own and stuff like that. And then, you're just constantly refining that process of how you run your practice, the skills that needed to be learned, bringing that competitive side out of the kids. There's so many different parts of coaching.
Yeah.
And Joe's seen it where, like, you wouldn't be able to tell me apart from the 12-year-olds sometimes. Mentally, I'm still there at 12 sometimes. I can put myself in that situation. I'm like, what's funny? What's going to be funny to these kids at this moment? Or how can we break up, this stressful time, or, whatever it is. There's those sides of coaching too. So if you can kind of mold yourself and shape shift into what you need to be in that moment.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a really good point, man. And I think it's a huge, very advantageous to be able to have that mindset when you're dealing with a team full of 11-year-olds. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's something that you can either do or you can't.
Yeah. And you want to push them, like you want them to be competitive.
Right.
But, it's knowing that if you push them too hard, at what point does it break? Mm-hmm. And then you have to know, like, I'm not going to get to that point where it breaks. I need to back off before that, and we maybe introduce a fun practice in, and then get back to the competitive stuff.
Do baseball teams have captains?
Mm-hmm. We have two.
Okay.
Yeah, we have two captains on our team, and that's a great point, because those kids that have been selected as captains know that they're a captain as long as they're doing their job. Mm-hmm. If there comes a day when they're not doing their job, there's going to be another kid that steps up, and they're going to be ready to be the captain.
And that's sort of like, that's a good like intermediary for you too, right? Like you have this sort of filter that you can send messaging to the team through, that's not coming from you, it's coming from another kid. Mm-hmm. And all that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it helps the kids that are the captains develop, because they need to learn those social skills and like how to communicate things. Mm-hmm. And you'll see, like, when we first started implementing that, it would be like the one kid, he's awesome, but he's handing out punishments like, all right, 15 push-ups. And it's like, whoa, yeah. Whoa. And the other kids are like, no, come on, dude. Just because the coach said you're a captain, like, I'm not doing push-ups.
Yeah.
Right.
And then, you see that transform into, now it'll be like, hey, Trevor, I need you to get the team back locked in. Like, they're not locked in right now for this game. They're talking about whatever it is that they're talking about in the dugout. They're not focusing on the baseball game. Trevor, go take care of that.
Are the captains typically the kids that are like the best at baseball, or do you look more for like they just have leadership qualities in general?
Yeah, not always the best. I mean, it's kind of that's a hard question, because I don't really think we have any kids on our team that aren't super talented baseball players. Like, they're all ballers.
Okay.
If I didn't have kids that were all like badass baseball players, I would still look for the kids that show the leadership skills. Mm-hmm. But on our team, we have two kids specifically that have kind of stood out as leaders and are good at baseball.
Yeah, I mean, it sort of makes sense. Like in that context, like the kids are probably not gonna. You're not gonna follow someone who's not good, right? Like if you're just kind of a natural leader, but you're not really that great at baseball, or you're not as good as the other kids, then it's like in that context, we're not gonna.
On the other hand, though, you're not gonna follow somebody who is just because they're good. You know what I mean? If they're an asshole,
yeah,
they don't know how to communicate.
Yeah,
I'm still gonna be like, no, I'm not.
But you picked the captains, right?
I did, yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, me and the assistant coaches, but
not the kids. The kids don't.
No, the kids don't pick. And it's kind of interesting to see, the kids embrace that captain role where they'll know, this is going on. I need to kind of go and talk to this kid. And we have two, so in this context, they're 12 years old.
Yeah, it's like
So, one of our captains may make 5 errors in an inning, and he's distraught because he's the kid that I need to, be the best baseball player, and that's his mentality. He works for that, and he may be distraught. Well, I have another captain that can go pick him up, and it kind of balances itself out.
yeah.
Not everybody is going to be their best every single day.
Do they? I'm sorry to keep asking about this captain thing, but it's interesting to me,
Yeah.
especially with 12-year-olds.
Were you never picked as captain on your team?
Oh, dude, I was a solo sport kind of guy. I mean, I was the team captain for soccer, but no, like not in high school. In high school, I was on the soccer team, and I actually ended up quitting because I was like, I was in a different crowd. I was like rocking out,
It wasn't manly enough for you, Zoe.
No, the kids were jerks, man. I didn't like it.
Mike wouldn't fix his toilet because he said the job wasn't manly enough for him.
Yeah.
He needed a woman to come.
No, what really? So the big thing, I got in trouble from my coach
That'll get
in high
some
school.
views there, Joe.
Yeah, hopefully.
Oh man.
My landlord's wife did it. But I got in trouble from my coach for like there was one kid on the team who was kind of scrawny and not very, and like other kids were picking on him, and I got in a fight with the kids that were picking on him, and I got in trouble, and I was like, this is not for me. This is like
That would piss me off too.
Yeah.
How did the fight end? Did you win?
He got his ass kicked by the scrum.
Yeah. It was a scrum. No, it was
scrum?
it was just like pushing, and then it wasn't like a fight.
You
But
didn't do any jujitsu on him?
no.
Eh.
But no, so like do you say like we need captains who's interested, or do you say you're the captain?
No, I observe and watch during practices. And it's funny that even if I didn't pick the captains, you know who the captains are, and the kids know who the captains are. Like the kind of this, I don't know if it's the taboo subject of travel baseball, but like everybody, at least parents, think that their child is, far and away above, and they're the best, right? And that's cool. You should think that as a parent. The kids are much more realistic, and the kids know who is the best athlete, who's the best baseball player, who's the best this, who's the best that. They know. So, the kids don't have any issues, and I'm blessed with good parents on our team. I don't have a team full of parents that's like, my kid's the best.
So Joe wanted me to ask you,
Yeah.
why isn't Joey? No,
Why isn't Joey the starting
I'm just
shortstop, pitcher, catcher? Yeah.
And captain.
Yeah, and captain.
Double
yeah.
captain.
no, that's cool though. That is
Yeah, my team, I'm super blessed with good families.
Yeah.
But there are plenty of teams, I call them the meme teams, where it's just chaos and constantly just turnover and kids and, all of that stuff.
One thing I can say is like we played Joey played club soccer last year, and I mean it was a great organization, but like just the feel is so much different. I don't know, not necessarily in a bad way, but it definitely has a more family oriented feel, playing for your team. And the parents on that team were so intense, man.
Yeah.
And like, I get it, it's club sports and like, but sometimes I'm sitting there thinking like, these are kids, guys, like calm down.
You
know
can't
what I
lose
mean?
sight of that, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a balance, because you want them to be competitive and win and learn. And it's awesome that it's so cool that kids these days, I sound like such an old guy, but like, man, I played baseball all growing up.
Yeah, I don't ever remember it being
No, we didn't have any of these kinds of resources. It'd be different if we lived in like Baltimore or something, but being over here on the Eastern Shore, we didn't have any club baseball teams to play for.
it was all rec league.
Yeah, it was all rec league. Yeah. I went over and tried out for a club team in the Baltimore area, and I kind of half-ass played with them for a little while. But, it's just such a long commute, like going over there and the level of play that these kids are at today compared to like 20.
Incredible.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah. 12-year-olds throw harder than me and Joe.
Dude.
I can assure you
they're throwing
throw harder.
nasty curveballs at like 12 years old. It's
YouTube,
insane.
man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that comes from like having private practices, you know,
Yeah, private coaching. Yeah,
being able to
stuff
do that kind of stuff. I went and watched a high school game last year, and I was like, these kids look like they're in college. Like they look like, you know, high level. This looks like two high level college baseball teams playing each other.
Yeah.
And they were high school age.
Yeah, and that's kind of one of the coolest parts about owning Made and doing the tournaments is, you know, aside from the running around times, I get to sit there and watch,
Yeah.
like, seriously high level baseball with kids. It's cool. It's really cool to watch.
It is. It's pretty amazing. So yeah, in my mind, it's like that fine line between like having fun and letting them do, you know, have a wholesome activity to participate in, but also like, hey, you know, this is a huge opportunity, man, because you could be, you're here right now, but by the time you're 18, like you could be way up here if you stick with it. It's a cool thing.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got an email.
You kind of got an email?
No, I said I did get an email.
I think he said I kind of got an email.
He said
Maybe
I kinda got
I
an
might have said that. Yeah, sometimes I fumble my words from time to time.
He didn't get much sleep.
Unisom?
Yeah.
No, he got extra sleep.
Sleep is not good lately.
We're probably getting pretty close.
Yeah, we are, man. We kind of went over, which is totally fine, but you got a lot of cool, interesting stuff to talk about. Yeah, Mike. I mean, I've got lots of other things I could keep going, just like always. But do you have anything else?
You go.
Well, I'm saying I
don't have any pressing.
Okay, cool. Well, I think we've been going for like an hour and 40 minutes now, so I think it's a pretty good amount of time.
Seems like a lot.
It does, yeah. So one thing that I do like to ask at the end is like, you know, if somebody's been watching this and they've never heard of Made, like where do they find Made? Where do they find your other businesses and stuff online?
Yeah, so real simple, made-baseball.com. You can see I try and keep all of the events updated there. If you click on a event there, it'll take you to the USSSA page for registration. It'll have some information on there as well on my website about the events. And then any merchandise that you want, all that stuff sells right on the same website.
Cool.
Awesome. And you got Facebook?
I have Facebook. I have a Facebook group, Facebook page. I post all over the place.
Awesome. Cool, man. Well, thanks again.
Yep, thank
coming
you.
out. Awesome conversation.
Thanks for being
Yeah, thank you.
We usually wave to our cameras,
Which one?
any of them,
All right.
I never know which one it is either.
you guys.